points for sure. Starting at hooker, Chris Randall, top of the pops at $4.99. Not an option for mine. Sam Verrills at $4.63K. If he gets a better run with injury, I think he'll get a lot more minutes. He's actually one of the talking points here. Is he a sneaky
Yeah.
option? 1% owned, so obviously not many people are thinking about it. I think he actually is a sneaky option. Like, obviously Harry Graham has spoken out, Reece Robson we've spoken about, JMK, Damien Cook. They're like tiers above. But value for money, I don't know. There's something I've always rated Sam Verrills as a hooker. I've always thought he was
Yeah.
a really, really good player. I don't know.
He's
I
a good
feel like
player.
there's something there.
I just feel like he's way too injury prone. Like, he'll get the most obscure injuries, man. And you're thinking, like, how does that even happen to anyone out there? But if it's going to happen to anyone, it's going to happen to Verrills, unfortunately. And his price is nice, and I expect him to be the starting hooker for that team. But I think it's just too risky. I think he's just wrap him in cotton wool and maybe send him out there, because when he's on, like, he might get you 50, but for his price, it's decent. But I just don't think the risk outweighs the reward when you think about how temperamental he'll be when it comes to it. So that's a club that had a fair few options last year too for the hookers, and you didn't really see him get a consistent run in general. But whether that was injury ridden or not, but yeah, it could be okay. It really could be, but there's just I probably wouldn't, man. Even at 560, like, he's not bad. Like, it's a fair price. Like, he's gonna probably outdo what he can do. He only did it in 11 games last year. But it was 11 because he just kept getting something happening to him. Something kept going wrong. And I just don't see that really changing. I think he's just one of those players that's going to be a bit injury prone in general. So, yeah, again, like, Randall had a good stint when he was playing lock for half that, and there wasn't exactly hooker points he was making. They were sort of rotated middle points. So that's his 50 average there. Same with Clark, but I don't think Clark's a hooker anymore. So their position stock's kind of running a bit thin. And Verrills would have to be their primary hooker, I would say, when everyone's fit. But 460, who else have you got around 460? Brandon Smith. Yeah, there's another weird one to tackle, but there's a couple around there. I would still, yeah, it's a whole different can of worms, that, but I'd still be looking more towards, like, he's too expensive for the cheapie bracket, and he's not good enough to run as a premium, like a starter, like your sole hooker that you pretty much be playing every week. So it puts him in a really unusual bracket where it's like, which way do you sort of go with him? I don't see the upside there for him to being a cashie, but there's just way too many better options at hooker to be going for him at that price. So I don't even see where the 1% ownership comes in. Maybe it's his family. I don't know. Yeah.
I was sort of a little bit. I don't know why, but I was I think it's more so just because I actually rate him as an actual player in rugby league, like not a super coach.
He's got it, man. Like, he was at the Chooks too, and he did all right. But it's like, I don't know. I just think for the options, there's just, he doesn't really. He's definitely under the radar, but whether or not the radar's been turned on or I don't know. I just wouldn't go there. Just with how many other plays you've got. If there was more options than just two, a starter and a bench hooker, maybe, but yeah, not for my liking.
I can't believe we spent this long talking about Sam Verrills. So let's move on to
that's you.
When I mentioned the Titans, it wasn't in my thought pattern. Tino Fa'asuamaleaui in the front row forward, 791K. Pretty much as premium as you get for the front row position. 16% ownership so far, so quite a few people are jumping on board. The price tag's not scaring him off. He 77.5 average in 2023. Not that the projections mean much, but they're already projecting him for round one to get a 70, so he'd already be priced under his average already. So going off that, he'd lose cash.
Who are they playing? What are their
Oh, sorry. The first
we'll
five
cover their
for the
starting
Gold
run.
Coast. The Dragons first, then the bye, which is a talking point in itself. The Bulldogs round 3, the Dolphins round 4, and the Cowboys round 5. So I can understand why people are getting on because it is a juicy run.
Yeah, it is.
I'm interested in the Titans this year. Like a question says in the talking points, what style does the Titans and Des Hasler play together, though? Can they actually link up? Because from the outside looking in, it is such a weird mix. I have to say, like, I'm excited for the Titans. They need Des Hasler. I don't know. It's so weird. I can't see half of these players playing a Des Hasler style of footy game, and I can't see Des Hasler adapting his style to adapt to the style of footy that the Titans also need to play as well, in a way.
Mm.
So it's such a weird mix, but I'm looking forward to seeing it. I feel like it's gonna be a fun show, fun roller coaster to be on. But Tino, 791.
Yeah,
What
it's
are your
very
thoughts?
expensive. It's very expensive. And like he's got that round one projection of 70. Mind you, he scored 38 points in round one against the Tigers last year. So you would expect that this year. You'd be like, oh, he scored 100, no dramas. He actually didn't really get up and start going until pretty much like midway of the year. It took a while for him to get going. And obviously, he dropped a lot in price, which was really appealing for him. I think he got down into the high 600s at one point. But um, towards the end of the year, it was a must have. You know, it was Tino, big Tino for everyone. So um, I think you're going off the end of season form. There is a lot to change. Like he doesn't seem to start off as good as he ends. Desi doesn't seem to really utilize his locks as much. He might get a lot of minutes, but it might be just very boring. Who knows, man? I'm not going to start with him. I think it's just too expensive. It's just 16% ownership. Those people probably don't have pass in their team. That's the play that it is. It's them. You see, you're not playing him at second row. And you just want to get that big dollar premium. And like, yeah, fair enough. You get Tino in because he's max price. You can always go down to literally anyone and then pocket some, which is nice to have. The early buy is a lot for that kind of price tag.
Yeah.
But I'll be definitely getting on to Tino, providing he's doing it later on. But yeah, it's an up and down thing at the beginning. Round two last year, he scored 111, and then went right back to scoring into like the low 50s again, and then just kept doing this until he eventually got that consistent run going, and he was just pumping out hundreds every week. So, he's got it. Whether or not he has it with the Desi team, that'll be interesting to see.
It will be.
But like I like Tino, man. I think he's going to be a great pick at some point in the year. I just don't think it's worth starting.
No, I agree with that one. I'm just quickly scrolling through. Mo for the wake up, Jamin Jolliffe, Isaac Liu. Not really options. I don't
No,
think.
not
Um,
really.
it does. One thing it does show me is the Titans have some pretty good depth issues in the forwards, and they've always had a pretty strong forward pack. So that's happening again this year.
Yep.
Keenan Palacia is definitely one I am interested in. 11% ownership, so quite a few people are as well.
Mhm.
Dual second row and front row, so that is always handy. 365K. Obviously, coming over from the Broncos, he had a great year last year. I thought he was very underrated with what he sort of did off the bench. Probably a similar style of role for him this year. I did get originally excited thinking he could turn into a back rower and start with some big minutes, but then I remembered both Fermor's there and coming back from that injury as well. So probably not. He obviously got Fifita and Fermor, who we'll talk about both shortly. So probably the similar role that he got at the Broncos. You could probably make a case he might get extended by about 5 minutes or so, maybe in the
Mm.
stints. Um, Definitely, I feel like an option though.
Yeah, I think he's an option. Whether it's a big cash up option or not, probably not really. I don't see the upside too high on him, but I think you're going to get some decent numbers, here and there out of him. I don't think it's a bad play at all. 11% owned. It's pretty high considering. He's at 365. He's not at 200. And he's not up in the 400s either. It's like there is a couple in the front rows in general that are up in that like nice little 400 bracket. Obviously, Fodawaker's just priced way high up, but you got Jolliffe at 480. I don't think Palacia is going to do any less than what Jolliffe will do.
Yeah.
providing what sort of roles and minutes they get. I think he's got that sort of tank in him to do what he can do. Just give him the extra few minutes, and he'll probably get there. So yeah, no, it's decent, man. It's like the same thing with Liam Knight. Like you're getting him for the mid 300s, dual flexibility, and you kind of know what you're going to get. I would say so. His PPM was pretty much all year last year 0.9. So he just needs more minutes, which he might get. But again, man, the Titans do have a fair few forwards to get through.
They do. And I've just flicked over to the second row position. It doesn't slow down either. There is some depth there this year, and I'm definitely in a rugby league side of things excited about the Titans this year. I think they're going to be right there around that sort of 8th position if this Des Hasler and Titans partnership can work and they can find a happy medium. But obviously, I'll skip over to the second row forwards because the bottom dollar front row forwards won't get any game time, unfortunately, at the moment with the depth that's on show there for the Titans. David Fifita, 832K. I never want to say no to David Fifita, but the fact that he's got an injury at the moment, there is still question marks over even if he'll start round one. Like my thought pattern is, why would they rush him back? Because after round one, it's obviously the bye, so that's an extra week as well. And then he could come back fully fit in round 3, and then that could be the option in the play. I wouldn't say, but I wouldn't start David Fifita because I think personally, the way I see it now with my coach's hat on, every 2 points are vital every game, no doubt about that. But against the Dragons as well, yes, they'll be desperate. They want to start well. They've got so many injuries already. The Dragons, they've been so unlucky, but I wouldn't be pushing for Fifita. So, and for that reason, I would not be starting with Fifita either.
Yeah, I you'd probably allow a week or two. Again, like if he's that close to, he's got pec surgery, so like if he's that close to starting round week 1, just give him the week off and give him an extra 2. Like you're right there. It's a game you're likely to win anyway. And then he comes back against the Bulldogs, and that's another game they're likely to win. So, you can kind of see where you would allow him to get delayed a bit. And for 830, if there was no injury cloud over him, I'd start with him.
Yeah.
He'd be in my team. He'd be the first player in my team. He's a monster, absolute monster. So that's the only reason I haven't factored 800K into my second row just to straight off the jump. So I will be on Dave Fifita after a little while. I have to try and work out where the money's coming from, man, because it's big coin. 830 is a lot. I'd be relying on him to drop down, but you can't expect him to. He could average 80 comfortably in a game. Yeah, so it's hard, man. I don't see him dropping in price. That's the only thing. And you think, how the hell do I get onto him at 830 if I don't think he's dropping? It's a few cashies you got to sacrifice to get there. So, I just don't think
the problem as well.
It's a big risk to start with him.
That's a big problem.
You get someone,
with everyone starting this mid-tier stuff and picking all these like everyone's going to want to be on Dave Fifita eventually at some point. Whether you start, whether you get in him early or later, you need to make the cash for that to happen. And
man, if your whole team is 460K mid-tier second rowers, Fermore's a great pick at 467. The jump from Fermore to Fifita is monstrous. It's going to take you like weeks to get that sort of coin together. So it's a massive jump to not have someone. That's why I want to have at least one of those expensive enough second rowers that I can afford to go up if I need to. If you don't have one, you are losing Cleary or someone. You know what I mean? To make that quick swap, and it's not worth it. It's going to be tricky. But yeah, if he doesn't start round one, like game week 1, you got to buy in round 2. The amount of coin having 830K held up in a player that hasn't played for 2 weeks is going to destroy that team. Yeah, it's gonna show quite quickly, where the cash is lost, and I don't think you can make up for it with anyone. I don't think there's a player that you can put to fill his position for his coin that's going to do that same sort of job. Not for Fifita anyway. You might be able to get away with a shift from Fermor, but not for what Fifita can do. So 8% owned, 8% probably don't see the risk, I guess. But yeah, I'm going to be on him at some point. Same thing with Tino, but again, I just think at the moment they're coming off such high prices from the end of last year, and there's too much unknown where they're going to. One, what Tino's going to do in general at the start of the season, and two, whether David Fifita is actually going to come back in round one, and if he does, is he going to do anything significant? Probably not really. He might not want to rush into it too hard, and then straight away they got to buy. So it's like I'll just be easy to avoid. Considering how dear he is. So give it a few weeks.
I agree.
Give it a few weeks.
There's only one other player I really want to talk about in the second row position. It's the guy you've mentioned a few times there, Bo Fermor.
Yep.
21% ownership. So there's a lot of people out there keen on him. I believe you're one of them, and I believe I'm one of the ones on the other side of it. So this would be good. This would be interesting. Tell me why you're for.
I just see the value in him. I think he's got a lot to go up. He's the kind of player that can score 100 points. You know what I mean? He's not. He's done it. He's done it a few times. He's going to get you those 40s and 50s, which is fair enough. You know what I mean? He's not 800k to start with. He's in the 400s, but his ceiling is very, very high. Obviously, it's because he's come off an injury, so there's that cloud a little bit where you can go, oh, you might want to give him a break and just give him a run to see, but I don't even want to do that. I think if I don't start with him, I'm not going to have him. So I am happy to make that play, start with him, ride the wave. If it seems like he's going to be doing what he wants to do, depending on obviously what side he's on, you can always, think about the team layout around him. But I think he's a solid player. You look at his season in 22, very good. Like it was very, very good. He started round one with 105, and then pretty much, I'll just run through a couple. He got a 57 in round three. He didn't play round four. He got a 96, an 89, a 93, 107. There was just a few. Like there was a few solid. He's got a very, very high ceiling for a lot of teams. He's almost done it to every team he's played against. And whether it's over maybe 2 or 3 games that he's played in general, one of them has been at least huge. So it seems like he can do it anywhere. He's only priced at that price because he didn't play last year. So realistically, he'd probably be up in the 650 pluses, give or take, if he had a solid run. I think out of all the 400k mid-range second rowers, he's my favorite. Really.
Wow.
He is. Like providing his fitness. Obviously, he's coming off an ACL. If he's at the same level as all of the other ones on an open playing field, I think he's got the biggest ceiling out of everyone there. In the 400 odd, mid 50, that kind of thing. But he's always been the first that I've put in. As soon as I go for my Cam Murrays or someone in that 650s, my next spot I've scrolled right down to. I've passed everyone, right to the 400s again, and it's just Bo Fermor straight away, and then usually probably Sean Lane. So. That will most likely, when I rebuild my team, be my starting second row trio that I run with for the first lot. So just have to see. But I really like his upside. I really like his price for his potential. I just want to see, obviously, how his fitness goes, but that's not going to deter me from starting with him or, even just sacking that second round buy. He plays the Dragons. I at least want to get in on that. And I'll just make sure I've got someone to cover him. That's kind of where I'm sort of sitting on that fence with both Fermor. I am on. Now, explain to me why you're not on. Probably the opposite points to everything.
I just, coming back from the ACL, I'm too nervous about that. And I have no doubt I'll have him in my team at some point. I don't think it'll be early, though. I want to see him get through at least 5 weeks of football. And I know that means I'm going to miss out on a price rise if that's to happen. To be honest, if it looks like he's going to be getting a decent price rise, I'll jump on before that happens, because I'll have enough mid tiers to make that happen. He is a gun. I am so excited to see him back in this team, and Titans really missed him last year. I think a lot of people underestimate just how impactful not having him on that other edge was. And it really mucked around with the Titans and the way their forwards rotate, etc. So 467 for a guy coming off an ACL, I just think is still a bit too much. It's just a bit too much to. I'm a gambling man, but I'm not going to gamble that much. I want to go
But
You
it
make
happened in
some
the
really good
preseason.
points.
It happened in the
It did,
preseason.
and
It was a long
it
time
did.
ago. He's had a whole season and then a whole new preseason.
And the word was
So,
he could have he actually could have played the last 2 or so weeks last year, but they decided not to. There was no point rushing him back from it and risking anything, which is really smart from the Titans. That's fantastic.
yeah, definitely.
I don't
I think
know.
he's probably the
I
best way
still
to run it.
just
So,
and the other thing is
well,
I don't wanna have
look,
too many Titans players because of that early buy as well, and that's my thought with it, is we're gonna talk about another player a little bit further down the track in a different position who I want in my team early
mhm.
on, as you said, the Dragons, and I think they'll score some points, and I think he'll be all a big part of the point scoring. And I think if I have to give up one of them, I'm giving up Fermor. I don't want to give up the other guy yet. I haven't wrapped my head around it. So
I think because they're very similar prices, Fermor and this
yes.
mystery man of yours. They're very similar, obviously different positions. At a baseline, Fermor does more than him.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah,
I'm going for the ceiling though. I've talked to you about this the other week. We mentioned it. I'm going
yeah,
for the big plays.
yeah. But he
I
has the
want the
ceiling
guy
too.
who yeah, but I think the other one, he has a he if he can take off like I anticipate he will this year.
Yeah.
I'm talking about
No,
Jaden
no, I'm
Campbell,
right
by
there
the way.
with
I
you.
might as well
We're
just
talking about Jaden Campbell. Yeah,
yeah.
we'll rip the band-aid off.
I think he can go big. He can go large, and especially against
Yeah,
some of these early teams, I think he's gonna make some cash, some good cash.
yeah.
And I
I think
reckon
so,
it
man.
won't but anyway, we could just debate this till the cows come home, but we've got to move on with our positions, and we've still got one more team to go. We've got the halves. I'm just going to throw in here. Actually, no, I won't because there's it talking about Tanner Boyd
Mm,
is the halfback option with Tommy Weaver. Now, Tanner Boyd, I've never been a Boyd believer. I don't think he's the best halfback at the club, if I'm being honest. I'm a massive Tom Weaver fan. If Tom Weaver gets the starting spot, I want him in my team. I'll get him at 245K. I think they'll do the safe option with Tanner Boyd starting the season there. No interest at all from myself when it comes to Boyd. I know his goal kicks, blah, 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 but I just don't think he's going to get anywhere near
no,
what we can see from the Clearys and stuff. And even,
no.
like you said last week, the Cherry Evans and the Moses, etc. So happy to move on from that one. 5'8", obviously foreign. Sort of wound back the clock a bit last year, priced at 471K.
Yeah.
Not an option, but the guy who has dual position 5'8", fullback. We started to talk about him just then. Let's just keep going with it. Jaden Campbell.
Yeah.
I'm expecting a massive year this year from Jaden Campbell. He has been told the fullback spot's his. AJ Brimson will be center, which for super coaches is fantastic because even though I think AJ Brimson can score quite well at fullback, I think Jaden Campbell can just go boom. And
Yeah.
especially early on, like he could be a hit. Look, I'm happy to say he's probably a flat track bully, if I'm being honest. But the good thing is he's got a lot of these flat track bullies to pick on early on. So I want
Yeah.
to ride that first up. And then if Turbo's looking good, if Pappenhausen's looking good, I can then just go up to the Pappenhausen after a few weeks because
Mm,
I reckon by that time they should balance out quite well. Because you look at the Storm hard draw, Titans easier, much easier draw. That's my play at the moment. That's where my trade's looking at early on. I'm looking at that trade. So that's why I'm on Jaden Campbell.
yeah. No, that's an excellent little combo play too. I think by the time the prices have settled, it might be in line with pretty much where exactly you'd want to trade him in. So,
Yeah.
um, that being, do you think his value is at fullback or at 5'8"?
In terms of who I pick, like where I pick him in Supercoach.
Where you actually physically put him?
Yeah. At the
Because
moment,
it's a tricky one.
it is because there is a couple of cheapy options at 5'8", that a lot of people will go with. And you obviously want Dylan Brown there. But I want Dylan Brown there. So that's 5'8" for mine, sort of out of the question. But then the more and more I think about it, I really want to get a second gun fullback. But the way I'm thinking about it, I think Jaden Campbell can I'm not gonna say he's gonna be up there with, like, your KPs and stuff, but I think early on he can at least get me through and hold me there, and I
Mm.
can count on KP doing what he does because 'cause he'll be my starting fullback. Campbell, as I said, can just do a job, so I'll have him as my second fullback, and then, as I said, I'll hopefully move him to Pappenhausen, who's fully fit after 5,
Mm.
6 weeks, and they're going, "Alright, let's go. Let's get onto the Pappenhausen bus."
Yeah, no,
I
it's
think you've
fair,
got him
man.
at 5'8" though.
Yeah, I had him at 5'8" just because of how thin the position stocks were. I
Yeah.
think when it comes down to putting in a chip on someone, like, I'd rather. I think you're probably going to find better fullbacks
Yeah.
in that price point than you're going to find 5'8" in the same price.
I can't afford it.
Like, it's a nice easy swap to go from Campbell to Pap if that's the plan, and he's already in that spot. But realistically, man, with the amount of Raiders cashies that most people are going to have in those two positions anyway, um, Weeks is a draw, Strange is a draw. Um, who else are you going to run with? Chevy Stewart potentially. It looks like he might be getting a look. Xavier Savage. They all got dual positions, so it's not hard to go. You down to fullback, you up to 5'8", and shuffle it around anyway. So it's not going to lock you into having that spot there. I got cornered in at the end of last year. I wasn't able to shift my 5'8" around at all. It kind of sucked.
Yeah.
So there's not a lot of depth in that position. So he's got a lot of value at 5'8". If you're going to run with someone like a Dylan Brown, but then like the collective value of your 5'8" position is very high. It doesn't mean anything really because they're only going to be from one, brick down to another. So, no, but yeah, him getting that news of the fullback spot kind of just, ticked the last
Huge.
box that I really wanted for him because, he came in at a very good price to begin with, and it was always that, oh man, like if he can get that starting role, shit, he's in the team straight away. It looks like he's got it. And yeah, like I'll be working a way into the team, whether that's at the 5'8" or at the fullback, but. Yeah, man, you've pretty much just put out like a little master play there, going from one to the other. It just depends. Like if Campbell's doing better than Pap, just keep going. You know what I mean? Like don't make
Yeah.
the swap if you
Ride
can
the
avoid
wave.
it. Yeah, don't swap if you don't have to. But he's got a good run for a fair long time, so
Yeah.
there's the game here and there that gets a bit tricky for him. But I don't think with the depth and the potential the team's got at the moment, I reckon they're going to be a bit of a smoky to push high up there on that ladder. They've got the players for
Oh,
it.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. Center wing, I don't wanna go through too much of the center wings here because not too much really grabs me. The only one really, Harley Smith Shields, which is pretty much bottom dollar cheap. He has 6% ownership at the moment, so he's of interest for a few people out there. At the moment, full strength, I can't see him actually getting in the spot. I know he's been a late season switch from the Raiders here, so that would give people an idea of maybe they needed him for some reason. But obviously I think Jojo Fafita and Khan Piera would be your starting wingers, and then
Yep.
or even Philip Sami maybe, who depending on if he's either center or winger, and then
Mm,
Brian Kelly and Aaron Shoup or Sami are in the centers as well. So I just can't see him starting yet, but he's
yeah.
definitely one to keep an eye on. I think at some point he will play just because of injuries and suspensions and the like. It'll just be, can he get a big enough run to get some cash made from him? Because if he does get some game
Mm,
time, I don't know, but I won't be putting him in my team to start with. I know a lot of people have talked about it, but yeah, not me.
yeah, I think it's just because he's cheap, really. But he's got a lot of,
Yeah,
there's a lot to climb over to get into a starting position at the
yeah,
moment. Um, Brian Kelly's that one that goes, no one picks him for whatever reason, man. But he's always so consistent. Uh,
yes,
it's just he's just not that guy for whatever reason. Like
zero
sort of looking,
percent.
yeah, 0% owned. He's like a guy from last year. Like he's gonna do basically what he's priced at. Like he's gonna have those really big games, and he's got quite a high floor. But for whatever reason, no one really gives him a look in. So, sorry, Brian. It's kind of just the way it is.
We love you, Brian.
Yeah, sorry, mate. You keep doing what you do. Maybe one day someone will own you, but
Is I guess because we've already really talked about the fullbacks, I'll quickly say Keanu Keeney is a freak. I don't know how he
yeah,
gets into this team, but he's definitely like sort of the Far logo effect. he's really, really exciting. I'd love to. I know it means Jaden Campbell might not be in the team, but I'd just love at some point to see him play. He's really, really good. Is AJ Brimson, if you can get the center duel, is he of any options? He's 587 at the moment. I don't know if you can
587.
really.
Yeah, I don't
And
know,
again, he's
man.
another center. Like that's another thing. He's another center. So that's one more to put into that stockpile that they've got. Harley Smith Shields has to climb over.
Well,
So
exactly. Yeah. So,
crazy depth.
I would say you're probably thinking that like Jojo misses out, Sammy goes to the wing,
Yeah.
and you got Brimson on the inside of him. So, um, 587. It puts him. Where does it put him? It pops him right in the middle of where you get like a Hamaso. The Hammers at just under 600. You got Alex Johnson, and he's above like your Penasinis and those sort of guys too. So yeah, it kind of fits. I just don't think I'd really be wanting to put that much coin into a center who hasn't played in the centers, who has an early buy, and you've got better options. Like from what we spoke about a couple of weeks ago, well, Carraz's 600. Like I'd probably personally, I'd rather go there out of preference. For the jewels, you'd probably go the Hammer or AJ for the potential at the ceiling on him. So yeah, I like Brimson, but I just don't know yet what will come from him in that center spot. Because he doesn't appear to be a very big guy, physically.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
Um,
mate.
I don't know what's going to happen there, because then I've heard people say, "Oh, he's only a little bit shorter than this guy, and he's really good." And I'm like, "Well, he's a great player. Like he's really good, and I can't, you're not going to say anyone that's going to find otherwise. That's going to say, Brimson's not cutting it." But I suppose it's just a wait and see. It's not someone I'm particularly too fussed on getting. I don't really.
No.
If he starts doing really well, like I'll be happy for the guy, but I'm still probably not going to make that decision to trade in for him, whether or not that's the right decision or not. I just have to wait and see. But yeah, he'll probably get the duel added before the game starts anyway. So you might see him pop up just because he's a new center in that spot. And if whatever happens and he gets shifted to fullback or 5'8" or anything, it might be really valuable to have him in the center position. But as far as actually being a center goes, I'm not super interested.
No, I'm happy with that there, and happy to end that with the Titans actually. So, really, some really cool options, some interesting options.
Yeah,
I'd say there
there's
about the
heaps.
Gold Coast Titans, and surprisingly as